No one knew why everyone loved the village canteen, until that day Fafunmi's father washed her dirty clothes in public. She was the only daughter of Ifagbemi, the feared herbalist of Cute, born with privilege, arrogance, and a stomach that loved food more than wisdom. She couldn't cook, couldn't clean, couldn't even lift a broom, yet she dreamed of running a canteen to feed the world. Her father swore she was a gift from the gods, untouchable and divine. But when her journey from a spoiled village princess to a humble kitchen maid began, even the gods seemed to hold their breath. This is the story of Fafunmi, the girl who could eat anything but ruin everything she touched, until life itself cooked her into a woman of substance. The sun rose lazily over Cute, a small village cradled between two ancient hills, its light stretching across the dusty footpaths and the red earth huts that smelled faintly of rain and herbs. Cocks crowed in competing tones, and smoke curled from clay stoves as women began their morning rituals, pounding yam, drawing water, scolding sleepy children. But in the middle of this chorus of life, one house stood different, the home of Ifagbemi, the village herbalist, whose name was both revered and feared. Inside that house, a young woman sat by the window, tracing shapes in the dust with a lazy finger. Her name was Fafunmi. She was the only daughter of Ifagbemi and his wife, Yetund, a child said to have been born under strange signs. The midwife had fainted at her birth, they said, for a serpent had coiled itself around the newborn's cot, only to vanish when her father lifted her and whispered a prayer. From that day, Ifagbemi declared her the god's own, and no one dared question him. But if the gods had indeed chosen her, they seemed to have chosen poorly. By her 16th year, Fafunmi had become the village's burden and her parents' heartbreak. She could not cook without burning the pot, could not farm without complaining of heat, and could not speak without offending someone. She laughed loudly in solemn gatherings, mocked her mother's wrinkles, and slept through chores as if dreaming were her true calling. When other girls learned weaving or traded palm oil in the market, Fafunmi drifted like smoke, beautiful, aimless, and impossible to catch. Her mother, Yetund, often wept in secret. "A woman's worth is her usefulness," she would mutter, her eyes dim, as she stirred herbs over the fire. But what will become of this child who does nothing? Whenever she voiced her worry to her husband, he would wave it away, his voice calm and sure. "Do not fret, Yetund. The gods gave her to us for a reason. They said she will not need to toil for food. Her life will be easy, for she carries a blessing unseen." Blessing. Yetund had once snapped. "If this is blessing, then curse and blessing are twins. She eats what I cook and mocks the hands that prepared it." But Ifagbemi only smiled, a knowing, unsettling smile. "You cannot understand what the gods reveal to a chosen man," he said, then turned to Fafunmi with eyes gleaming like fireflies in twilight. "My daughter, do not let anyone burden you with labor. You are different. The gods will provide for you." Fafunmi's lips curled in satisfaction. From that day, she began to live as though the world owed her comfort. She would walk through the village market with a careless sway, her anklets jingling, her hair glistening with palm oil and cowries. When the traders called out greetings, she would nod without a word, her eyes distant, her face unreadable. Children adored her beauty, but feared her temper. Men admired her body, but avoided her company. And women, especially the young wives, whispered behind her back, saying, "That girl will bring sorrow upon herself and her father's name." Yet life went on in Cute, simple, slow, and circular, until the day Fafunmi's indolence began to bear fruit no one could ignore. It started with her father's herbs. Ifagbemi had been known for curing impossible illnesses, ailments that had driven other healers to despair. But one morning, his mixtures began to fail. His charms lost their potency. Patients returned with complaints, saying the sickness had only worsened. Rumors spread quickly and Cute like harmattan fire. Some said he had offended the river goddess. Others whispered that his daughter's arrogance had angered the spirits who once favored him. Yetund begged him to make sacrifices. "Let us appease them, Ifagbemi," she pleaded. "Something has turned against us." But Ifagbemi refused. "My daughter is pure. The gods love her. No spirit would harm my house." Fafunmi heard all this and shrugged. "If the gods are truly angry, let them speak for themselves," she said one night, as she painted her nails with ground charcoal. "Why must we live in fear of unseen mouths?" Her words silenced the room. Her father's hand trembled. "Be careful, child," he warned softly. you speak of powers older than the hills." But she only smiled that defiant, slow smile, the kind that always made Yitun's heart ache. The following week, the first sign came. A goat belonging to her father's neighbor, Baba Ade, wandered into their yard and died suddenly near the threshold. When they buried it, another goat died the next day, in the same spot. Then chickens began to vanish. Then a strange smell, something sweet and rotten, started oozing from the walls of their hut. People began to avoid the family entirely. Mothers called their children home whenever Fafunmi walked by. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath when she laughed. And still, her father defended her. "She is not cursed," he told the elders who came to question him. "She is blessed beyond your understanding." One of the elders, old Baba Kote, spat into the dust. "Blessed? Then may the gods bless no one else like her." That night, Yitun packed a small calabash of rice and oil and went to pray at the village shrine. She stayed there until dawn, her tears mixing with the ash on the altar. When she returned, her eyes were red and swollen. "Fafunmi," she said softly, "you must change your ways. The gods are not pleased." But Fafunmi only yawned. "If they are hungry, feed them yourself, mother. I am not the one who owes them anything." For a long time, Yitun said nothing. She looked at her daughter, at the careless tilt of her chin, at the light in her eyes that seemed both human and not. Then she turned away and whispered, "One day, Fafunmi, your father's words will come true, but not as he thought." That day came sooner than anyone expected. It began on a Friday morning. The air was thick with the scent of burning palm leaves, and the village square buzzed with laughter. A new canteen had opened beside the market, a small place with a thatched roof, bamboo chairs, and a wooden sign that read Ores Place. No one knew who owned it, but the food was said to be heavenly. Fafunmi, of course, was the first to mock it. What foolishness! Who would eat at a hut when everyone cooks at home? But before the week ended, even she could not ignore the smell that drifted across the wind. Rich stew, smoked fish, fresh pounded yam that made stomachs growl from afar. People said the canteen owner cooked with something divine, that those who ate there felt lighter, happier, as if a burden had lifted from their hearts. Even her father went once, and when he returned, his eyes were wet with tears. "Whoever owns that canteen," he said in a trembling voice, "cooks with the hand of the gods." And for the first time in her life, Fafunmi felt something strange, a tiny, unsteady spark of curiosity. For days after the canteen opened, the entire village of Cute could talk of nothing else. Men praised the food as though it were a miracle, and women, secretly jealous, tried to guess the ingredients that made the taste so divine. Children loitered near the canteen's window, hoping the cook would toss them scraps, and even the elders, once too proud to eat outside their homes, found excuses to pass by, pretending to inspect the new place. Fafunmi noticed how life in Cute suddenly seemed to orbit around the canteen. The laughter from the market, the hum of conversation, even her father's patience, everyone spoke of Ores Place with a glimmer in their eyes. She had never seen her village so alive. And for the first time in her life, she began to feel something like envy. That evening, while her father sat before his herbs grinding dried leaves into powder, she walked up to him with that careless sway of hers, but her tone, soft and measured, carried an unusual seriousness. "Baba," she said, "I want to leave Cute." Ifagbemi looked up, startled. "Leave Cute? For where, my child?" "The city," she said, her lips curving into a half-smile. "I want to start my own canteen there." For a moment, silence hung between them. Then, as always, her father's face softened into that same adoring smile. "The gods have spoken to you, haven't they?" he asked, mistaking her selfish whim for divine direction. Fafunmi nodded, seizing the opportunity. "Yes, Baba. They have shown me that people will eat my food and bless me." Her mother, Yitun, who had been sorting dried peppers by the fire, dropped her bowl and turned sharply. "Eat your food," she said with disbelief. "You who cannot boil water without setting the pot ablaze. You who burns yam as though you hate its smell." Fafunmi ignored her. "The gods will teach me," she said. Ifagbemi rose to his feet, his chest swelling with pride. "Let no one question the voice of destiny," he declared. "My daughter's path is sacred." Yitun stared at him, helpless and exhausted. "Ifagbemi, this girl cannot cook. She cannot even wash her own clothes." He only smiled. "Then she will find those who will serve her. Did the gods not promise to feed her all her days? Now they are showing us how." From that day, preparations began. Fafunmi strutted through the compound with new confidence, issuing commands to everyone, her father's apprentices, her mother's helpers, even the neighbors' children. She spoke as if she were already a queen. She would eat 4, sometimes 6 times a day: morning porridge, mid-morning roasted plantain, afternoon pounded yam, evening beans, late-night stew. The only thing she could do better than anyone else in Cute was eat. Her appetite was legendary, her greed unmatched. Her father adored her for it. "The gods are enlarging her stomach," he would say, laughing proudly. "They are preparing her for abundance." But to the rest of Cute, she was nothing short of unbearable. No one could refuse her requests. Ifagbemi's word was law, and in his house, Fafunmi's word was higher still. Whenever she spoke, the apprentices trembled. If she frowned, her mother sighed, knowing that before sunset, her father would be made to fix whatever had displeased her. One afternoon, Fafunmi gathered all her dirty clothes, a mountain of brightly colored wrappers and blouses stained with palm oil, and dumped them before her father's apprentices. "Wash them for me," she said, fanning herself lazily. The young men glanced at one another, hesitant. They had been scolded the week before for neglecting their duties, and washing their master's daughter's clothes wasn't part of their work. One of them, the eldest, dared to speak. "My lady," he said gently, "Baba told us to clean the storeroom today. We can wash later." Fafunmi's eyes flashed. "Did I ask for your opinion?" Still, none of them moved. She waited. When they didn't obey, she lifted the bundle of clothes and marched straight to the backyard where her mother was pounding yam. "Mama," she said, her voice sharp with false sweetness, "since no one wants to wash my clothes, please, you will help me." Yutun froze mid-pounding. "Me," she said, "you want your mother to wash your clothes?" "Yes," Fafunmi said simply. "They're dirty, and I can't be walking around like a common maid." Yutun let out a bitter laugh. "May the gods judge your father for what he has done to you," she murmured, shaking her head. But when Yutun refused, Fafunmi began to cry. Loud, dramatic sobs that echoed across the compound. Neighbors passing by stopped to watch. Children whispered. Women chuckled from behind their wrappers. "Look at her," someone called out. "Ifagbemi's goddess cannot wash her own clothes." "She can eat 6 times a day but can't touch soap," another added, and laughter rippled through the air. Yutun stood there mortified, but Fafunmi only cried louder, her tears pouring like rain. She cried until her father returned at dusk, tired from a long day at the shrine. We saw her sitting on the ground, weeping, with a heap of unwashed clothes before her. He dropped his calabash of herbs. "What happened?" he demanded. Before Yutun could speak, Fafunmi wailed, "Baba, your apprentices refused to wash my clothes. Even Mama mocked me. Everyone laughed at me." Ifagbemi turned pale. His voice trembled. "They mocked you?" "Yes," she sobbed. "They said I am lazy, that even the gods would be ashamed of me." Something snapped in him. He turned to the apprentices, his eyes blazing with fury. "You refused my daughter's request? You dared to shame her." They knelt immediately begging, "Master, forgive us." But Ifagbemi would not listen. He tore the wrapper from the pile, dipped it in a bucket of water, and began to wash it himself, openly, under the fading orange light of dusk, in front of the gathered neighbors. His hands worked furiously, his voice shaking as he spoke. "The gods bless me through my daughter. If she asks for my service, I am honored to give it. May her life be long and sweet, for she carries their mark." The neighbors fell silent. Some shook their heads, others muttered prayers. Yutun covered her face, humiliated beyond words. When he finished washing, Ifagbemi spread the clothes on a rope to dry. Then he turned to his apprentices. "You have offended the gods through your disobedience," he said coldly. "For 3 days you shall not eat. Perhaps hunger will teach you respect." And for 3 days, none of them tasted food. From that moment, no one in Cute dared question Fafunmi again. She walked through the village like a princess among peasants, her father's shadow following her every wish. But beneath the calm of those days, fate was quietly shaping the storm that would one day strip her of everything she thought she could never lose. For weeks after the cloth-washing incident, the story of Fafunmi's privilege spread across Cute like dry harmattan dust. Some told it in mockery, others in awe. But to Fafunmi herself, it only confirmed what she had always believed, that she was born to be served, not to serve. Still, her dream of owning a canteen in the city grew, like wild yam vines in her heart. Every morning she reminded her father, "Baba, I must go to the city." The gods have shown me that my canteen will be famous." Ifagbemi, proud and gullible, began to imagine his daughter's name written in gold over a city shop front, Fafunmi's delight, food from the gods. His chest would swell at the thought. Yatun, however, saw what her husband could not. "She cannot cook even for herself," she warned. "If she goes to the city, she will starve or bring shame upon us." But Fafunmi was persistent. Each day, she pleaded, persuaded, and pouted until her father, weary of her constant requests, finally relented. "If it is the gods' will," he said one evening, "then let us begin where the gods have started, in Or's place, the canteen that opened your eyes." And so, the next morning, he went himself to see Or, the owner of the famous canteen that had brought joy to Cute. Or was a broad-shouldered woman with a voice like warm broth, deep, kind, but firm. When Ifagbemi arrived with his daughter, she welcomed them politely, but with wary eyes. "My daughter wishes to learn from you," Ifagbemi said proudly. "She will one day open her own canteen in the city. Teach her everything you know." Or hesitated. Everyone in the village knew Fafunmi's reputation, her laziness, her pride, her inability to lift even a broom without sighing. But she dared not refuse the herbalist, whose influence stretched far beyond the market square. So she nodded slowly. "If it pleases the gods," she said, "let her begin tomorrow." And thus began Fafunmi's apprenticeship at the canteen. From the first day, trouble brewed. She arrived late, her hands adorned with bangles that jingled louder than her footsteps. While the other girls tied scarves and rolled their sleeves, she stood before the mirror, adjusting her wrapper and admiring her reflection. When asked to wash plates, she wrinkled her nose. "The smell of stew makes me dizzy," she said. When told to sweep, she sighed and leaned on the broom as if it were a walking stick. But the real disaster began when Or, in her kindness, decided to teach her cooking. "Let's start simple," she said. "Cook jollof rice." By noon, the entire canteen was filled with smoke. The rice was half burned, half raw, a strange combination that even the dogs refused to eat. The next day, she was asked to prepare pepper soup. She added so much salt that even Or's throat itched after tasting it. The day after, her stew had no salt at all. Sometimes she poured too much pepper, making customers cough and sneeze. Other times, she forgot pepper entirely, leaving the food flat and tasteless. When she boiled meat, it came out either too hard or too soft, and when she made soup, it was either too thick to swallow or watery enough to drink. Soon, the once busy canteen began to lose its glow. Regular customers started avoiding the place. Some would peek through the doorway, see Fafunmi behind the pots, and turn away instantly. Not today," they would mutter. "That girl is there again. She will spoil our stomachs." Within weeks, business had fallen sharply. The laughter that once filled Or's place faded. The table sat empty, the air heavy with the smell of failure. Or herself grew pale from worry. Her savings were disappearing, her customers were gone, and the only new thing she had gained was constant embarrassment. She could not confront Ifagbemi directly. He was too respected, too unpredictable. So, she sought counsel from the village elders. Together, they decided to visit him with gifts and soft words, hoping to plead for wisdom. One evening, as the sun melted behind the palm trees, 3 elders walked to Ifagbemi's compound. They greeted him with honor, sat on woven mats, and spoke gently. "Ifagbemi," their leader began, "we know your daughter is precious to you, but she is bringing ruin to Or's canteen. The people now fear her cooking more than hunger itself. We beg you, withdraw her from there before that business dies completely." At once, Ifagbemi's face darkened. "What nonsense is this?" he thundered. "Are you saying my daughter brings misfortune? If she leaves that canteen, it will close. The gods sent her there to bless it, not to destroy it." The elders bowed their heads and said nothing more. They had delivered their message. Whether he heard it or not was now in the gods' hands. But destiny has a cruel sense of humor. The very next week, Or quietly told Fafunmi not to come again. "Rest for some days," she said softly. "I will send for you when we are ready." Fafunmi, thinking it was a temporary break, gladly stayed home. But word spread quickly through the village. Fafunmi is no longer cooking at Or's place. That same day, the canteen filled to the brim. Old customers returned, laughter echoed again, and food was sold out before sunset. It was as though the gods themselves had come back to eat. When news reached Ifagbemi that business had revived the moment his daughter left, even he could not ignore the truth. Still, his pride would not allow him to admit defeat. He only said quietly, "Perhaps the gods are calling her elsewhere." That evening, as Fafunmi sat under the mango tree eating her 5th meal of the day, she turned to her father and said, "Baba, maybe I should go to the city now. The people here are jealous of me. My blessing is too big for this small village." And as always, her father believed her. He sent a message to his younger sister in Ibadan, a widow known for her sharp tongue and shrewd business sense. "Come and take my daughter," he wrote. "Teach her the ways of the city and the secrets of the canteen trade. The gods are ready to announce her greatness." A week later, the Anne arrived, her face hardened by city life, but her heart softened by family duty. She looked at Fafunmi, who stood before her in fine clothes and idle hands, and sighed deeply. "This one," she asked. "She wants to run a canteen." Ifagbemi smiled proudly. The gods chose her. The ant shook her head. "Then may the gods prepare her hands." And so, early one morning, with half the village watching, Fafunmi climbed into the back of a lorry, headed for Ibadan. Her father poured libation on the ground and prayed, "O gods, let her greatness shine in the city as it could not hear." The lorry rumbled away, dust rising behind it like a curtain closing on an unfinished story. What awaited Fafunmi in Ibadan would change not only her life, but the destiny of everyone who ever loved a good meal in Cute. Ibadan smelled different. The air was heavy with roasted corn, exhaust fumes, and the distant rhythm of shouting traders. To Fafunmi, it was another world entirely, faster, louder, and filled with faces that didn't stop to greet her. She sat stiffly beside her aunt in the old Peugeot that had come to fetch her from the motor park, clutching her small bag as if the noise around them might snatch it away. Her aunt, Mama Tinu, was a woman carved out of fire and will. Her face bore no smile lines, only lines of labor and strength. She was known in the whole of Begi Market as Ayat Tinu the Iron Woman, the cloth seller who could bargain a wholesaler into tears and walk away without paying a kobo more than she intended. She had raised 3 sons, Tinu, Whale, and Seo, and raised them well. Each one was a master of his own hands. They cooked, cleaned, ironed, and ran errands with a precision that would shame most women. It was not by accident. When they were children, Mama Tinu had told them repeatedly, "I don't want any of you to be held ransom by any woman from anywhere. If she will not keep the house, you keep it. Cleanliness is next to godliness. If she will not cook for you, cook until she begs you to teach her. Don't let anyone suffer you as regard food, because whatever a bird eats is what it flies with." And they listened. The 3 boys grew up in that discipline, turning chores into pride. Their room was always neat, their meals always balanced. They knew how to fry, stew, roast, and steam. Even their mother's friends often said, if all men were like these, no woman would dare be lazy. So when their mother arrived home one Friday evening with a new visitor from a village, a tall, well-fed young woman wearing layers of bright wrapper, beads, and perfume, they were instantly curious. "This is your cousin Fafunmi," Mama Tinu announced. "Your uncle Ifagbemi sent her to me. She wants to learn the canteen trade." The boys looked at each other, then at Fafunmi. She smiled sweetly, expecting a warm welcome. "Ekasano," she said politely. They replied in unison, "Ekabo." But behind their smiles hid confusion and a flicker of doubt. That night, Mama Tinu prepared a small feast, ifo amla, and spicy goat meat. Fafunmi ate greedily, taking seconds, then thirds, until her plate was clean and her stomach round. She sighed happily. "Ah, food in the city is even sweeter than the gods promised," she said. The brothers exchanged looks. For the next week, they treated her with kindness. They cooked, cleaned, and showed her the city's ways. She didn't lift a finger. Each morning, she woke late, ate breakfast, and wandered around the compound humming village songs. Whenever Mama Tinu returned from her shop, she would find her niece reclining, picking her teeth after yet another meal. Still, Mama Tinu said nothing. She only watched. After 7 days, Seo, the youngest son, suggested cheerfully, "Ani Mike, you've been eating our food since you came. Why don't you cook for us tomorrow? Let's taste your own city style." The others laughed and agreed. "Yes, let her bless our kitchen," Whale said. "Maybe the gods of Cute cook differently." Fafunmi's eyes sparkled. "Ah, you people don't know me," she boasted. "When I cook, the aroma will fill this whole street." They smiled politely. The next morning, she tied her scarf high, wore her best wrapper, and entered the kitchen like a queen entering her court. The boys sat in the sitting room pretending to read newspapers, but secretly they were listening. First came the clatter of pots. Then the heavy scent of palm oil, too much. Then the cough-inducing cloud of pepper, far too much. After an hour, the whole compound smelled like confusion itself. Finally, she emerged, sweating but smiling, holding a pot of stew and a mound of rice. "Come and eat, my brothers," she said proudly. "You will lick your fingers." They gathered around the table. She served them eagerly, her eyes shining with expectation. Tinu took the first bite. His face changed immediately. Whale followed. His spoon froze halfway. Seo chewed twice, then reached for water. There was silence. Then Whale whispered, "Did she forget the salt?" "No," Seo coughed. "She poured the pepper of 7 villages." The taste was indescribable. Too salty in one bite, completely bland in the next, the rice half raw, the stew half burnt, and the meat so rubbery that even their dog, Rufus, turned away when offered a piece. Mama Tinu walked in just as they were quietly pushing their plates away. She looked at their faces, then at the untouched food. "What happened?" she asked. Tinu spoke carefully. "Mama, she cooked." Mama Tinu tasted a spoonful. The moment it touched her tongue, she spat it out into the sink. "Yezu, what is this?" Fafunmi stood there frozen, her smile faltering. "Maybe it just needs to rest small," she murmured weakly. But the boys couldn't hold it in anymore. They burst out laughing. Will clutched his stomach. Seo leaned on the wall. "This is the lady from the village who wants to cook for city people." Tino laughed, shaking his head. "Bad market." Their laughter echoed through the compound, bright and merciless. Even the neighbors peeked in to see what caused such noise. Fafunmi's pride cracked that night. She didn't cry softly, she wailed. Loud, raw wailing that filled the room long after the others had gone to bed. She wept not only for the humiliation, but for the sudden realization that maybe, just maybe, the gods who had promised to feed her had never promised she would feed anyone else. In the still darkness of the night, her aunt sat awake in her room, listening to the sobs from the next door. She shook her head and whispered, "Tomorrow she will begin again. If fire does not burn her pride, hunger will." And thus began the second half of Fafunmi's story, where the city would teach her what the village never could, that even the gods respect only those who rise early to stir their own pots. True to her promise, Auntie Tinu called out at dawn, her voice slicing through the quiet compound like the call of a town crier. "Fafun," she shouted, using the childhood name only family dare to use. "Come and collect the ingredients for this morning's meal." Fafunk dragged herself from bed, eyes swollen from the long night of weeping. Her heart was still sore from the laughter that had haunted her dreams. But her aunt's tone left no room for pity. "We are taking semavita and egusi soup this morning," Mama Tinu said briskly, already unpacking bowls of melon seeds, pepper, and meat from her market basket. "And please, make sure it's edible this time. Otherwise, I will personally abort your dream of starting a canteen in this city. Charity begins at home. If your family cannot eat your food, no one outside will." Fafunk lowered her gaze. "Yes, Ma." Her hands trembled slightly as she took the ingredients. "And another thing," Auntie Tinu continued, her voice now sharper. "If you fail again, I'll collect the money for my wasted ingredients from your father. After breakfast, you'll wash all my dirty clothes and follow me to Begi Market. You must learn the ways of this city. Here in Abadan, fathers don't wash their daughters' clothes. The god of this land operates by different rules, hope that sinks." Fafunk nodded weakly. "Yes, Ma." Just then, someone called from outside. "Mama Tinu, come quick, oh, your customer from Lagos is here." She sighed, adjusted her scarf, and hurried out. "Don't burn my kitchen, Fafun," she barked as she disappeared through the gate. The compound fell silent. Only the distant hum of traders setting up their stalls floated in the air. Fafunk stood in the kitchen doorway, staring at the raw ingredients laid before her. The shame of last night pressed against her chest like a stone. Her aunt's words echoed, "If your family can't eat your food, no one will." She blinked back tears and tied her wrapper tighter. "I will not fail again," she whispered to herself. "Not today." Unknown to her, Tolu, the middle son, had been watching from behind the curtain. He had heard his mother's harsh words and seen the defeated slump of Fafunk's shoulders. Tolu was not as strict as his brothers. He was a soft soul, half out of empathy, half because he didn't joke with food. When his mother's footsteps faded away, he tiptoed into the kitchen. "Fafun," he said softly. She turned quickly, startled. "Ah, Tolu." You scared me." "Sorry," he smiled faintly. "Look, you need help?" She wanted to refuse out of pride, but the memory of last night's laughter silenced her. "I don't even know where to start," she admitted. "Then start by washing the meat properly," he said, rolling up his sleeves. "Let's do this together before Mama returns." And together they did. He showed her how to toast the melon seeds lightly before grinding. He taught her to fry the pepper gently until the oil turned golden and no longer smelled raw. He measured salt with the tip of his palm, explaining, "Taste first before adding more. Salt doesn't disappear." They cooked like old friends, like conspirators saving a secret mission. The kitchen soon filled with the rich, smoky aroma of roasted egusi, simmering stock, and bubbling oil. When she stirred the soup one last time, even she couldn't help smiling. "Smells like victory," Tolu said, grinning. Before long, Mama Tinu returned, dusting her wrapper as she entered the compound. The air hit her first, the unmistakable scent of delicious food. She paused, sniffed again. "What am I smelling?" she muttered, walking faster. Inside, she found the pot still steaming, plates already arranged, and Fafunk standing shyly beside it. Her sons were already licking their fingers. Tinu, the eldest, spoke with his mouth full. "Mama, come and see." Fafundon turned chef. Mama Tinu dipped a spoon into the pot, blew gently, and tasted it. Her eyes widened. Then she took another spoonful, and another. "Well, well," she said finally, her voice softer than anyone had heard in days. "So the lion's cub can roar after all." The boys laughed. "Mama, you missed the best part," Whale said. "She cooked this one herself." Mama Tinu raised an eyebrow. "Her alone?" There was a pause. Fafunk looked down, her cheeks hot. "Yes, Mama," Tolu said quickly, avoiding her eyes. "She did well today." Their mother pretended not to notice his nervousness. Instead, she began to shower praises on Fafunk, her voice rising with each word. "Ah, Fafun, so this is the talent you've been hiding? You have redeemed yourself today, oh. The gods of this kitchen have finally smiled on you." The others clapped and laughed as she served them all. But when her eyes met Tolu's for a brief moment, a small smile played at the corner of her lips, a knowing smile that said, "I saw you, my son, but I will let this one pass." That morning, everyone ate to their fill, and for the first time since her arrival in the city, Fafunk's tears were not from shame, but from joy. In her heart, she made a silent promise: "I will learn, even if it takes me 1,000 pots of soup." That was the morning her journey truly began, not just to learn cooking, but to rebuild her confidence, one meal at a time. They said she would never learn. They laughed when her food tasted like regret and shame. But that morning in Abadan, as the aroma of egusi soup filled her aunt's kitchen, something changed in Fafunmi, something divine, fragile, and real. For the first time in her life, she didn't just cook food, she cooked redemption. But what she didn't know was that the city was only about to test her hunger for success in ways she had never imagined. Will Fafunmi survive the taste of the city? Or will the city swallow her whole before her dream can rise? Stay tuned for part 2. If this story touched you, don't just scroll past, like, share, and subscribe for part 2. Drop a comment with #Fafunmi will rise if you believe she'll make it in the city. Your words might just be the push she needs. See you soon.